Good morning. I'm Dr. Sneha, first year general surgery resident. So today I'll be talking about neck secondaries. So secondary cancers are tumors that have spread from the primary tumors in other parts of the body to the head or neck. Most often, secondary tumors of the neck originate in the lung, breast, kidney, or from melanomas in the skin. Cancers in the nasal and sinus passages may spread to the brain through nerves in the skull. So this secondaries in the neck lymph nodes, they are divided into three types. Secondaries in the neck with known primary, secondaries in the neck with clinically unidentified primary, and secondaries in the neck with an occult primary. So you have three types of secondaries. One is with known primary, one is with clinically unidentified primary, and one with an occult primary. So moving on to the next slide. Secondaries in the neck with known primary. So here, secondaries are present and primary has been identified clinically, like in the oral cavity or in the pharynx, larynx, thyroid, or other areas. So we have some primary identified. So here the investigation of choice would be the biopsy from the primary and FNAC from the secondary. So these would be the preferred investigations. And the treatment. Treatment is primary is treated by curative radiotherapy or surgery, like wide excision is required if surgery is being performed or if the surgery is possible to be performed. In our rest of the cases, we'll be going for curative radiotherapy. And secondaries, when they are when mobile, are treated by radical lymph node block dissection of the neck. So again, secondaries when they are mobile are treated by radical lymph node block dissections in the neck. So the second type, there are hard lymph nodes. The hard neck lymph nodes are secondaries, but primary has not been identified clinically. So there we had the primary already being identified. Here, the hard neck lymph nodes are secondaries, but the primary has not been identified clinically. So the investigations carried out should be FNAC from the secondaries, and then search for the primary is done by various investigations. They are pan endoscopy, surveillance biopsy, FNAC of thyroid and other suspected areas, and CT scan should also be done to know the reason for the primary or to know where the primary tumor is. So again, talking about pan endoscopy, you have nasopharyngoscopy, laryngoscopy, esophagoscopy, and bronchoscopy. And for surveillance biopsy, blind biopsies are taken from fossa of Rosenmuller, lateral wall of pharynx, pyriform fossa, tonsillar bed, base of the tongue, and subglottic region in larynx. So FNAC of thyroid and other suspected areas are done, and then CT scan is done. The surveillance biopsy is done to reveal unknown primary in 15% of the cases of secondaries in the neck. If this surveillance biopsy is negative, and then ipsilateral tonsillectomy may be needed. So the surveillance biopsy is done to reveal the cause of primary or to know where the primary is. And in 15% of the cases of neck, this might be required. So if the surveillance biopsy is negative, then ipsilateral tonsillectomy may be needed. The treatment here again is primary curative radiotherapy. Secondary in the neck is treated by radical neck dissection. Okay. So the third type is secondaries in the neck with occult primary. Occult means hiding from view. Okay. So here we don't know what the primary cause is. So the secondaries in the neck lymph nodes are confirmed by FNAC, but primary has not been revealed clinically and by any available investigations. So occult primary, when all the investigations do not show any evidence of primary, then you call it as occult primary. That is the third type. Okay. So the reasons for primary lesion being occult. It can be too small a primary to detect. Either the lesion can be too small to detect, or there are possibilities of immunological spontaneous regression of the primary, and it can be inability of the present diagnostic tool to detect the primary. So these would be the causes for occult primary, like for the investigations to come nil. Either the primary should be too small to be detected, or there should be possibility of immunological spontaneous regression. It can be. I know it's quite rare, but there are possibilities of immunological spontaneous regression of the primary tumor. Or it can be the inability of the present diagnostics tools to detect the primary. So moving on to the next slide. Histologically, secondaries in the neck with occult primary, maybe of squamous cell carcinoma or non-squamous cell carcinoma, that is adenocarcinoma, poorly differentiated tumor like lymphoma, sarcoma, and melanoma. So in upper and mid cervical region, 80% are due to squamous cell carcinoma. So this you should remember so that you know what to think the differential diagnosis as. When up middle, for example, in upper and mid cervical region, 80% are due to squamous cell carcinoma, and in lower cervical and supraclavicular region, 40% can be adenomas. So the site also matters. You should remember the site so that you'll have some idea of what it could be, like the DDs at least. So the common sites of primary here, that is for adenocarcinoma, can be thyroid, breast, gastrointestinal tract, salivary glands, lungs, prostate, and kidney. So 70% of occult nodes occur in jugulodigastric group. Okay. And differential diagnosis for secondary with occult primary is lymphoma and primary bronchogenic carcinoma. Okay. So 70% of the occult nodes occur in the jugulodigastric group. So remember this. So occult node mostly it's in the jugulodigastric group. So the histological types of secondaries. We have three types, okay? Squamous cell carcinoma, adenocarcinoma, rarely melanoma. So this squamous cell carcinoma, it's mainly from oral cavity and pharynx. While adenocarcinoma, it can be from GIT and it usually involves the left supraclavicular lymph nodes. And the third type is melanoma, which is quite rare. So the risk factors would be tobacco, heavy alcohol use are the most common risk factors for head and neck cancers. This includes all tobacco products, including cigarettes, cigars, chewing tobacco, and everything. So, cigarette smokers have a lifetime increased risk for head and neck cancers. Like they have 5 to 25 times over the general population. Ex-smokers' risk for head and neck cancer begins to approach the general population 20 years after quitting the tobacco. So speaking in general, you just have to know that tobacco and heavy alcohol use are the most common risk factors for head and neck tumors. And also, not just people who have been smoking, but even ex-smokers have the risk to develop head and neck cancers in the time to approach the general population, that is 20 years after quitting tobacco, they have chances of getting head and neck tumors. That is, the ex-smokers have the risk or the chances of getting head and neck tumors 20 years after quitting it. So it doesn't mean when a patient says that I don't smoke anymore, he doesn't have chances. So it's very important to ask if the patient has been smoking or under any alcohol use. Okay. So what would be the additional risk factors? Leukoplakia. 1/3 of the oral cancer develop leukoplakia. So that can be a risk. And normally, males are more commonly affected than females for head and neck cancers. Like the risk is like 2 to 3 times more in males. And talking about the age group, mostly people more than 40 years have been found to having head and neck tumors. And betel nut chewing is another risk factor, but the most important risk factors just the two which we spoke about, smoking and alcohol. So occupational inhalant exposure, including nickel refining, textile fibers, and woodworking dust. So all this can contribute to be a risk factor for head and neck tumors. So the occupation of the patient matters because in some occupation there can be exposures to textile fibers or some wood dust, which can again be a risk factor. So don't forget to ask about the patient's risk, that is the occupation. It can give you some idea. So moving on to how will the patient present clinically? Patients generally present with a painless solitary neck mass, often discovered by the patient. So the patient would have some neck mass, which would normally be, mostly at least, be painless, and the patient would discover it by himself. So the masses are usually around at least 2 to 3 centimeter in size. And patients have usually gone through at least one course of antibiotics before even coming to doctors for that neck mass. So benign masses are also often solitary and painless. So the symptoms of secondaries of neck, the patient may present with hoarseness in case of carcinoma larynx or thyroid, and dysphagia in carcinoma of the posterior 1/3 of the tongue, and pharynx in carcinoma of pharynx and esophagus. So each carcinoma have something to it, which could signify that it could be the tumor or the cancer of from that origin. We said, carcinoma larynx or thyroid, the patient would have hoarseness of voice, while carcinoma of the posterior 1/3 of the tongue, And carcinoma of pharynx and esophagus, the patient can present with dysphagia. And in case of carcinoma of lung, there can be hemoptysis, cough, and dyspnea. So in case of nasopharyngeal carcinoma, again, the patient may present with ear pain and deafness, and there can be involvement of 7, 11, 12 cranial nerves and sympathetic chain, normally in head and neck tumors. So these are the symptoms with which the patient could present with. This can also help you to think about what the tumor could be. So ear pain and deafness, think about nasopharyngeal carcinoma. Hemoptysis, cough, dyspnea, think about lung cancer, lung carcinoma. And dysphagia, think about carcinoma in the posterior one-third of the tongue or carcinoma in the pharynx and esophagus. So this is something which you all should remember. And the level of lymph nodes. Level of lymph nodes should always be checked for. The level of the lymph node is important because nodes at certain level more likely could be certain primaries. So upper neck nodes are more likely to be head and neck cancer, like subdigastric node may be virtually any head and neck head and neck primary, or a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, while submandibular nodes suggest oral cavity, lip, nasal vestibule, or salivary gland primary, and submental nodes are usually uncommon. So this is why the lymph nodes are important, that it's the level of the lymph node is important. So when it's subgastric node, it can be for sure be head and neck primary, or it can be a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. While if it's a submandibular node, it could suggest oral cavity, lip, nasal vestibule, or salivary gland primary. Submental nodes are again uncommon. So mid-neck lymph nodes, they are likely primaries which include larynx, hypopharynx, commonly esophagus, disease below clavicles, or lymphoma. So lower neck and supraclavicular lymph nodes could signify or could be most often metastatic from chest or abdomen, possibly esophagus or lymphoma. A primary head and neck node is uncommon at this level. So parotid lymph nodes are more likely skin cancers than from a primary parotid tumor. So I'm repeating this again. Primary, that is the parotid lymph nodes, are more likely due to skin cancer than due to a primary parotid tumor. So always remember it. When you see a parotid lymph nodes, it's not really necessary to just be a primary parotid tumor, but it's more likely to be a skin cancer. So benign neck masses are most common, except in supraclavicular lymph nodes. So head and neck cancers are the sixth most common cancer worldwide. Head and neck squamous cell carcinoma accounts to 5% of all cancers. Squamous cell carcinoma most common upper aerodigestive tract malignancy. So you should remember that squamous cell carcinoma is the most common upper aerodigestive tract malignancy. Smoking and 50% of head and neck squamous cell carcinoma occur in oral cavity. Management presents considerable functional and aesthetic problems. Multidisciplinary approach is imperative. Just remember that head and neck um, squamous cell carcinoma is the sixth most common cancer in the world. The treatment for head and neck squamous cell carcinoma would be the removal of primary tumor with the cervical nodes, surgery, radiation, chemotherapy accordingly can be done. Sometimes palliation could only be done. And cervical neck diseases reduces survival by 50%. So lymphomas. Lymphomas are malignant cell infiltrates of the lymphatic system. Once a malignancy begins in one part of the lymph system, it often spreads throughout the rest of the system before it is even detected. So lymphomas share similar symptoms such as painless swelling of the lymph nodes, fever, and fatigue. Broadly, they are classified either as non-Hodgkin's and Hodgkin's. Okay. So as we saw already, there are three types of primary. There are three types of secondary neck tumors. One can be with known primary, the other where the primary is not detected clinically, but it could be detected with the investigations. Third is something where you cannot detect the primary even after all investigations being performed. So let's see a short summary of what we've seen so far. The secondaries with known primary. Here the secondaries are present and primary is identified in oral cavity, pharynx, larynx, or other areas. Biopsy of primary and FNAC of secondary are done. Primary is treated accordingly by surgery or by radiotherapy, while the secondaries, when mobile, are treated by radical lymph node dissection. Secondary with clinically unidentified primary, FNAC of the secondary is done, and the primary is searched by investigations like laryngopharyngoscopy, esophagoscopy, bronchoscopy, blind biopsy from the lateral wall of pharynx, fossa of Rosenwiller, pyriform fossa, tonsil, larynx, FNAC of thyroid, and CT scan. While secondaries of neck with occult primary. So talking about secondaries of neck with occult primary, here the secondary in the lymph node is confirmed by FNAC, but primary is not revealed by any available investigations. So initially, secondaries if mobile are treated with radical lymph node dissection and regular follow-up is done at 3-month interval till primary is revealed. If lymph node when fixed is inoperable, then external radiotherapy is given to palliate pain and to prevent anticipated bleeding, and sometimes it downstages the swelling, which can be dealt with block dissection later. So primary when revealed is treated accordingly. So talking about FNAC in detail, FNAC of the secondary. Open incision biopsy is not advised here. It destroys the fascicle barriers and causes the spread of tumors faster and earlier into next level nodes or other soft tissues. Eventually, neck dissection technically becomes difficult. Recurrence rate in neck will be higher after open biopsy. If FNAC of the node and all investigations of primary become negative, then open biopsy of the node following confirmation with frozen section and immediate neck dissection is undertaken. In such situations, if neck dissection is delayed after open biopsy confirmation, chances of cure will be reduced. So remember, open incision biopsy is not advised as it destroys the fascial barriers and causes the spread of the tumor faster and earlier into the next lymph node and the surrounding soft tissues. So if FNAC of the node and all investigations of primary became negative, then open biopsy of the node following confirmation with frozen section and immediate neck dissection should be undertaken. So biopsies from primary. So incision biopsy is the choice here. Blind biopsies from suspected areas, as we spoke about pan endoscopy with examination under anesthesia, it can be done. CT scan is to see the base of the skull, paranasal sinuses, nasopharynx, extension of the primary tumor, secondary deposits. CT scan of the chest and abdomen would also be required. Chest X-ray to visualize primary or secondary in case of melanomas or mediastinal nodes. MRI scan or PET scan in conjunction with CT scan or MRI would be required. And MRIs identify soft tissue extension and the minute changes, so it could be required. Guided primary biopsy is possible with MRI, and extension into bone is identified. CT chest and abdomen in case of infraclavicular primaries to access the nodes. So these are something which you should remember when it comes to investigations of neck secondaries. Incision biopsy is the choice, and other blind biopsies of the suspected areas could be required. Pan endoscopy under anesthesia would be necessary in cases. CT scan to look for the lesions in base of the skull, paranasal sinuses would be required, and sometimes CT scan of the chest and abdomen again could be required. Chest X-ray is actually to visualize primary or secondary in case of melanomas or mediastinal tumors. So MRI scan or PET scan in conjunction with CT scan or MRI would be required. And CT chest and abdomen in case of infraclavicular primaries is necessary to assess the nodes. So we've reached the last slide. We'll just see what could be the DDs for neck tumors. It could be for abdomen cancer, lymphomas, tubercular lymphadenitis, non-specific lymphadenitis, HIV, chronic lymphatic leukemia. So these would be the differential diagnosis for neck secondaries. So thank you.